that was fantastic. For those of you who saw it, or if you're seeing this as a standalone video, go check it out. That was my first broker and mentor, Adam Sachs. And now we have a fantastic guest. And if you're seeing this a year down the road, maybe he'll be a member of our state government. That's right. I'm now interviewing Oz Sultan, who is running for state senator in District 30 to replace the outgoing senator who is now the lieutenant governor in the new Governor Hochul's administration. And of course, that's Benjamin Brady. I have the honor and privilege of talking to you, Oz, a gentleman I've met before, but a lot has happened since we first met. And
absolutely,
I want to hear about where you've been and what's going on with you. But maybe by way of introduction, and excuse me for those emails, by way of introduction, where is District 30 and what does it mean to you to run for this position, and who are you?
Sure. I mean, I guess I could start with who I am. I'm a New Yorker. I've been a New Yorker for 20 years. I was originally born and raised in Pittsburgh, and my dad was in steel for 50 years. But, I've been here since the early 00s. I've worked on mid-desk consolidations at JP Morgan. I did stuff at Moody's, building kind of like the rating systems. I was at The Economist. I turned a bunch of their data into video games. I've done stuff with Xbox. And then for the past decade, I've been working a lot in big data and blockchain technologies.
Wait, and viewers, if you think that was the coolest part of this interview, you are wrong. It's going to get even better. Go on.
Thank you. A lot of what I've been looking at is I kind of looked at Harlem as an ecosystem that's kind of emblematic of a lot of places in America. Because if you look at poor brown, black communities and you look at poor white communities, they kind of have a lot of the same issues, right? A lack of access to fair transportation or efficacious transportation, a lack of access to fair housing, a lack of access to jobs, a lack of access to job training. And then a lack of access to any kind of like workfare type programs like we used to have that would like leverage people up into this. And so what we started doing was we started actually kind of as a district leader, because I'm currently the elected, GOP district leader for the 70th Assembly. And I can do some stuff.
Leader?
Republican.
Oh, wait, you're a Republican?
Yeah.
A Republican in New York?
That's correct.
And you're a person of color? And you also are a practicing Muslim, is that correct?
I'm an American Muslim, and I've been endorsed by the Jewish GOP organization. I mean, a lot of what I bought the Hametz for the entire Lower East Side one year. I mean, this is New York. We kind of like we all kind of have to pitch in together on these things.
You're a New Yorker. All right, I like this. I mean, this is going to go wild, and I think you're already breaking people's expectations and patterns. Sorry, Oz.
No worries. So the things that we've looked at is like we worked with IQ4 and CUNY and a couple other organizations, and we figured out, hey, we could bring higher level education certification programs in that could get a bunch of kids into jobs at like Lockheed and some of these other tech companies on the defense side. But there's also a ton of stuff in managed hosting and cybersecurity, in just kind of general infrastructure jobs that are out there, and these all pay like 36 to 42,000 to start, right? And my purview has been for a long period of time that increasing the minimum wage doesn't really jive. It doesn't really work, okay? And at the same point in time, you're not seeing the proliferation of those jobs inside of New York. Like we still have all the union jobs that are out there. We still have all of the, the healthcare industry jobs that are out there. And now we have this huge slew of jobs inside of technology that we're not necessarily opening the doors to our communities to get involved in. And that's been kind of a big push, but and this is also why I'm starting to run now, because we got to the point where we tried to talk to our local Democratic electeds, and we've made phone calls, we've reached out to them. We can't get the money. Under the last administration, there were hundreds of millions of dollars that were allocated for COVID relief that got stuck in Albany, right? Under this administration, there's money that's been allocated to kind of come down, and we should have that money afforded to us for rapid tests, for the development of community centers, to deploy, people of color, like who are healthcare educators, to actually talk to people. Because one of the big problems we have in New York is you got half of the population thinking that these vaccines are like Tuskegee, and you got the other half of the population that doesn't know what to do, but thinks that it's the right decision. And if we're actually going to get better coverage, and here's the weird part, the best model in the United States is Puerto Rico. They've got the best vaccination, and that's a commonwealth. That's not even a state. And so if you look at kind of like what was successful down there, a lot of it was kind of getting over some of the challenges, but providing alternatives. And we've looked at that in one portion, but then we also started looking at like, what are the other indicators that are necessary to actually start building a community more successfully. And Andrew Yang has talked about universal basic income. It's interesting, AOC had talked about this, and we started looking at it. And I said, well, you guys just want to tax and hand money out. And that's interesting, but it doesn't incentivize anyone to do anything. And all it does is it creates an additional tax burden for New Yorkers. Like, we already have expensive taxes here, you know? And what exactly is that doing to incentivize anyone to get a job or to do better? So I work in the blockchain industry, and we have this new technology called decentralized finance. And it literally allows us to take certain systems and actually generate like a significant amount of yield with them. And so looking at things from kind of a Judeo-Christian Islamic perspective and saying, hey, why don't we like do a tithe? What we're going to be doing is setting up a partnership with a crypto company and a carrier. And I'll be announcing that inside of the next week. And we're actually going to be picking somewhere between 10 to 100 people that we're going to be handing $100 to on a monthly basis. And mind you, what we're looking at initially is probably single moms who are inside of the homeless shelter system, for which like $100 a month is groundbreaking. It's the difference in between having a jacket for their kid and not having a jacket for their kid in the winter. It's the difference in between, you know, having meals and not having meals a couple days a week. Like, these are significant things that New Yorkers are dealing with on a very basic level. And I was on the 5-borough homeless commission for, you know, a period of time. One of the things that we dug into is the city is spending $100 million a year on 5,000 homeless people when we've got 50,000 homeless people in the city. And a lot of this money is going to—
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
The city is spending $100 million a year on 5,000 homeless people when we have a problem of 50,000 homeless people in New York.
Why is it? As you know, a lot that I don't know. A lot.
It's real.
I don't understand.
I'll
that
tell you how
part.
bad this is.
As a taxpayer, why are we not? Why are the other 45,000 homeless not getting that money?
Because most of this money is going to folks like Cuomo's sister, who operates a couple of these housing situations, I guess you could call them. Some of them, sometimes they're hotels that have been converted. Cuomo's sister owns a number of these facilities across the state.
I didn't even know there was a Cuomo sister. I didn't know that. I thought
exactly.
He had a brother. Oh my God.
No, but think about this. They're paying $3,500 per person per bunk in a bed per month.
That's the rate?
That's the rate. So
interrupt. Moving on. Listen, I want to talk about. I want to structure this a little bit differently, Oz. Yes.
Sure.
Oz, you are a fascinating fellow, and I had some questions to ask you, and you dove right into a few of them. But I mean, what comes across clearly is your passion and your brilliance. You did share with me, and I want to encapsulate this so people really understand you and they give you a fair shake for what is a important state Senate district. But you told me off air, and if it's okay, I am sharing it. You're also a survivor.
That's correct. I'm currently in the process of pushing into remission on stage 3 testicular cancer. It's been rough. I lost about 100 pounds, but I came back, and one of the first things that the party asked me, they were like, "Look, there's a special election. Are you going to pony up?" And I was like, I mean, this is kind of what I've wanted to do. I wanted to figure out, can we make the change? And I also kind of figured out that the way to do it is not the way the Democrats have been doing it. If we kind of come in, and I'll give you another number will just blow your mind. So the state Senate offices and the city council offices in this city have a budget for staff that's over $1 million for each office. Okay. And one of the things I've looked at is like, why is it the current Democratic electeds only hire like 3 people? Like, I mean, that's a lot of money. My perspective is, let's go back to the 1950s. Okay, let's go back to block captains. Let's go from the Jewish areas that are at the bottom of the island, the bottom of the district, into the Latino areas, into the African-American areas, into the Latino areas again, into the Jewish areas again, into the Chinese areas, okay, which is what this district is comprised of. Let's get block captains that are covering kind of a 5 by 5 by 5 block area, and let's get the feedback on a consistent basis. Let's actually allow them to work with me as an elected, God willing that I'm able to do this, and actually start changing the policy on the ground, okay? Because we've had promise after promise after promise for 20 years. For 20 years, you had GOP leadership in this city and you didn't have a crime problem. Right now, under Democratic leadership, we've got some of the worst crime that we've ever seen. And at the same point in time, we have the bigger homeless issues. We have issue after issue after issue. And all that's happening is they're cutting budgets and moving budgets around. I'm saying that there's a smarter way to do this. I'm saying that we can bring technology in. And I'm also saying that there's ways that we can approach this, that we can actually start generating money for different state agencies, which is what they don't do.
So just to recap, and then we'll probably sum it up.
Hmm?
You are, as a Republican, spearheading a platform that includes universal basic income.
Correct.
You're using your skills honed in the financial institution, which is a major employer in New York City, to work with decentralized finance through your expertise in cryptocurrencies to help, propose a pilot program for the universal basic income.
Correct.
And if someone were to ask you, why are you running? And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you really care deeply about fixing the city.
I love this city. I mean, it's people always make this joke, well, go back to where you're from. And I'm like, I mean, I'm a couple different ethnicities, I'm American. I mean, where are you going to send me? This is home. Okay. And for a lot of New Yorkers who have seen that kind of nonsense and that kind of rhetoric, you need folks like myself that are going to stand up to represent you. And at the same point in time, fight for the issues that really matter. We can fix homelessness, if we can start building more affordable housing or bring developers in that will work with us, and we can kind of fix the job issues in this city, we start moving forward. And if you think about it, that's what's necessary, not just for now, but for the next generation of kids that are coming out through the pandemic that we don't necessarily have the right solutions for, but I'd love to bring to Albany.
Oz, your ideas are impressive. You are impressive. And I just wanted to tell you that I'm grateful that you joined me today. And before we go, I want to also share that I grew up here in New York. And in New York City, there are two types of political parties. You have Democrats and left-wing Democrats. Those are the two parties. So, and I was from a left-wing family, more left-wing than the centrist wing. Mm-hmm. And my father was a real estate developer in Harlem, by the way. I developed a health clinic, and that's what we lived off of. My mother was a filmmaker. I went to, 2 public schools, 2 junior high schools, public high school here in New York. Mm-hmm. And I think your ideas are fantastic. I understand the discord, both locally and nationally, between Democrats and Republicans and left and right. But I think that what I hear in your solutions, and what I agree with wholeheartedly, is that we're all human. Mm-hmm. We're all weird. We're all different. We have real problems, and that none of the rhetoric is solving those problems. And that in order to solve those problems, we have to look past the rhetoric, understand that there has been corruption going on. Correct. That's the fact. And if you think that's a political statement, read a book. Read The Power Broker. Read that Bob Moses' entirety, and you might say, oh, Bob Moses is an awful person. He took all these people's houses. Okay, read the book. But know that what Bob Moses presided over was an era of even worse corruption, which led to a world of less corruption, not no corruption. Well, and he also led through some really bad city planning. Let's be honest about that. Yeah. Perhaps, but I'm not here to say, oh, I wish we didn't do that, and I really actually do regret that we don't have as much waterfront usage in the city planning. I mean, I think that the fact that those are just highways is a missed opportunity, even though there are parks. I do think I mean, I could talk about the political issues. I personally think the school system situation is unfortunate. And I also agree with you wholeheartedly about the homeless problem. And in fact, I made a series of videos called "If I Was the Mayor, What I Would Do." And some of the ideas are kind of silly, and I don't ever think they would happen, like parking at fire hydrants. That was one of my platform ideas. You should be able to park at a fire hydrant. If there's a fire, they can smash your windows, and that's on you. You
I
can't.
think a lot of New Yorkers would be okay with that, because we get, I mean, that's a lot of extra, that's a lot of extra spots.
So anyway, but I just want to say that I love everything you're saying. It's not enough just to tax people more and think that good social progress is going to come out of it. The government takes a lot of money as it is. There's a lot of money in the government. They have a lot of money, and they could provide better services to us with that money. And I don't think New Yorkers who are younger than 50, for the most part, have any expectation that the government will do anything for them. I mean, and even though
I'll put it to you this way: take a look at my Medium. I've got an article where we could start saving a couple $100 million a year just by transforming how we look at exporting like recyclable waste from the state. Okay, there's a ton of different ways that we can start looking at government as an innovation ecosystem to generate money for the state. But we have to stop looking at operating the state like it's running in 1973, and we have to look at it like we're running in 2025. And that's all I'm saying. You know, all I'm saying this cycle is, give me a shot. I'll try it for 2 years. If you don't like it, I won't run again. Okay.
There's no question, Oz, that you are cognizant of and embody a generational shift in technology, which in history always changes things. And that when, we've had these last big periods of times, the Moses years, the Giuliani years, the Bloomberg years, those Bloomberg and Giuliani years, for whatever their policies were also groundbreaking shifts in technology. The internet, you basically, Giuliani is the Microsoft story. It's the story of the computers. And Bloomberg is the high-speed internet story, for lack of a better way of looking at it.
Well, that and social media. I mean, consider what really transformed New York over the past 20 years. And now we're going into the cryptocurrency era. And I'll tell you this, we need to kill the bit license, which is onerous and has stopped like crypto Wall Street. We need to create jobs, and we've got job creation programs that could work with the Department of Labor right now. If we had state funding, I mean, it could just start dropping this stuff in. We need to incentivize people, and that's what the UBI is for. And we need to give people, a little bit of hope, a little bit of a way forward, because that's what New York's about. New York has always been this place. You can come here with 2 nickels and you can figure out a way to make yourself forward, and a lot of people, that's their story. And if you think about this, I don't care what industry you're in, we have an opportunity to create like a second Hollywood here over, out in Queens. I mean, that's without even talking about these types of issues. I would love to be the guy that actually helps bring that forward, because you know what? That's the kind of New York we all need.
So let's leave it there. Very powerful. I appreciate you, and thank you. And thank you for running.
Thank you.
Well,
and thank you, everyone.
This has been Oz Sultan. We have one more guest, but if you want to get in touch with Oz, hopefully you're seeing this and he's already the state senator, but maybe he's running. It's only a 5-week election, and I probably won't get this online for a week. So, it might be soon. But Oz, how can people get in touch with you? Oz4ny.com.
My Twitter is Oz Sultan, and pretty much everywhere in social media, I'm just Oz Sultan. But, reach out to me. I mean, if it's not this race, there's going to be other races. But, I think we've got a good opportunity here to really do something special in New York. And I'd love to be the guy that makes it happen for you.
Oz Sultan, everyone. Thanks again, Oz.
Thank you.